The year is 334 BCE, in the heart of what is now China, in the period known now as the Warring States. Like arteries in a body, the Yellow and Yangtze rivers course through the middle of these territories, providing nourishment along their length, before flowing into the Yellow and East China Seas, respectively. The atmosphere is one of conflict and political unrest, a sharp, marked contrast from the more peaceful and philosophical spring and autumn period that preceded it. To understand what brought about this conflict, we start near the end of that era, the spring and autumn period. Duke Xian of Qin ascended the throne of Qin in 677. During his reign, Qin was the most powerful of the various states and one of the larger ones in terms of landmass. The Duke adopted a ruthless policy of succession planning from one of his officials, Yore, the policy to exterminate other members of his own clan, leaving only his succession line intact. While the policy would increase the odds his descendants would be heirs on paper, in reality, he was significantly weakening his own clan, and those seeking to displace his family in future years would have a much easier task as a result. He also expanded his army into 2 troops in an effort to enhance his control of the state. Each of the 2 armies would have 10 to 12,500 men. 5 years into his reign, and with most of his own clan exiled or slaughtered, he begins to look for conquests outside his borders. His first target, the nomadic Li Rong tribe, whose name translates loosely to Western warlike people. They were described as having long, unbound hair with heavily tattooed bodies who had a preference for eating their food raw. It was said he eliminated almost the entire tribe, taking just 2 prisoners, 2 women he favored as captives. The women were sisters, Li Ji the elder and Xiao Ji the younger. The Duke was attracted to both of the women, but he favored Li Ji, and 7 years later she would give birth to Shiki, whom she would desire be placed on the throne ahead of his other male children. Duke Xian so favored Li Ji that he even assisted in creating scenarios that would favor his son with her over his own. The Duke, who had slaughtered so many of his own kin, now sent his eldest 3 sons directly into zones of conflict. The elder Shensheng was sent to defend Kuio in Shanxi, and Prince Chonger to defend the city of Pu, while he sent the youngest just south of that region. 4 years later, in 661, he would conquer the states of Gaong, Hua, and Wei, as well as the lands of the Rongdi tribe. The period between 657 and 651 would come to be known as the Li Ji Unrest, a series of events which Li Ji was the catalyst for, and Duke Xian her willing power broker. In 656, Li Ji, still wanting to see her son on the throne, frames the eldest son Shensheng. Shensheng, who had been away to offer food as a sacrifice to his now dead mother, also kept a portion for his father. Li Ji saw to it that the food in this batch would be poisoned, and when the Duke's men discovered the poison, the Duke was furious, and he sent guards to capture Shensheng. Upon hearing the news that his own father had sent troops his way, he reasoned that running would only make him look guilty, and he had no one left to protect him, so he made the decision to kill himself. This left his younger brother Chonger as the heir apparent. Only he and his younger brother stood between Li Ji and her son inheriting the crown. Of course, Li Ji wasted no time in now accusing him and his remaining brother of revolt. They were left with no choice but to yet again escape, to Pu and Erku respectively. The following year, their father, the Duke, again sends troops to capture them, but again they manage to escape to the state of Liang. Chong'er, though now in exile, has surrounded himself with capable, intelligent, and wise advisors, and as a result is able to stay a few steps ahead of his father's troops. In 651, his father dies, and chaos surrounds the succession. Some factions want Chonger to take over, but he declines, and his half-brother Yiwu instead becomes Duke Hui of Jin. As with his father's previous regime, his brothers also wants him dead. And again, he escapes multiple assassination attempts under his brother's regime in 644. He makes the decision to move to his mother's home state of Qi, where he remains through to 639, when yet another succession crisis forces him to leave, this time to the state of Tao. In the next few years, he's constantly on the move, hitting the states of Song, Zheng, and Chu. According to legend, in Chu, at a banquet hosted by the Chu monarch, he's asked after receiving first-class treatment in exile how he would repay this kindness. He responds by saying that if the two sides were to ever meet in battle, he would order his troops to retreat 3 shi, or about 30 kilometers. After leaving Chu, he finally stays in the state of Qin. Altogether, he would spend 19 years in nomadic exile, but rather than being slowly forgotten, his mystique grows over the intervening years, with one court stating that any one of his followers, like him, would be fit to lead a state. In 636, after Duke Hui's death, Duke Mu of Qin, his current benefactor, accompanies Chong'er back to Qin with an army at his side to this time become Duke Wen of Qin. The dukedom he now leads is one shattered by years of instability. Instability his father had started when he essentially wiped out his entire family. To counter this, Chong'er sets about instituting several reforms to both the military and civil bodies. To the military, he forms a 3-army system, comprised of an upper, middle, and lower army, with each commanded by its own generals. Duke Wen, however, was not alone. Those many quality individuals that he had amassed set about assisting him with the reforms, after being assigned to a variety of leadership and governing posts throughout the state. He openly supported the Eastern Zhuao court and its ruler, King Xian of Zhuao. He went as far as assisting the king when he was deposed in 635 by his own brother, by reinstating him as king once the brother and his forces were dealt with. As this was playing out, the state of Chu was continuing a northward expansion. Chu invaded the state of Song, which was an ally of Qin. Chonger, in response, assembles a coalition of allied forces, including troops from the many states he had fostered relations with during his long exile. This culminates in the decisive Battle of Chengpu in 632. Chonger did not participate in the battle, leaving that instead to his capable commanders. Battles in China at this time, much like in the Mediterranean world, were still primarily fought by charioteers, with infantry not yet playing the role they would in centuries to come. The battle starts with the advance of both Qin army wings. Their intelligence had indicated that the right wing of their Chu opponents was the weaker of the two. Shu Chen, who was commanding the Qin left wing, attacks the Chu right wing. Shu's charioteers, reinforced with tiger skins, but no match, as the attack, swift and brutally effective, dispatches the Chu right wing in its entirety. Shu's left wing, now victorious, aids the Qin center and prevents the Chu left wing from attacking. Hu Mao, the leader of the Qin right wing, fakes a retreat after a brief skirmish. This retreat often touted as the conclusion to the legend of affording the Chu 3 shi, the 30 kilometers mentioned earlier. They were holding a banner that indicated additional leadership was present in this wing, which wasn't the case. The Qi, however, believing the right wing was routed, ordered a pursuit. Lunzi, another commander of the Qin forces, aided the right wing by having a group of his charioteers drag branches, which kicked up a massive dust cloud that obscured the right wing of the Qin almost entirely, giving them time instead to circle back and reform. As the dust was kicked up and began to settle, the Qi, very likely shocked to see a contingent of Duke Wen's bodyguards flanked by the Central Army and the supposedly routed and destroyed right wing bearing down upon them. The Qi, likely shocked and stunned, were within minutes completely destroyed. Ji Yu, the Qi lead commander, then orders a general retreat. After the battle, King Juao recognizes Chong'er, the Duke of Wen, as first among his feudal lords. And at a multi-state conference a year later in 631, the Qin in turn state their reciprocal support for the king and his family, and swear an alliance with him. And that ends part 1 of this new series taking place in ancient China. If you like this, please hit the like button, and if you like the videos on this channel and haven't yet, please consider subscribing. We'll continue this story in part 2. Cheers.